Kelsey. This is my channel, The Fancy Hat Lady Reads. I am wearing one of my fancy booktube hats, and today I'm bringing you the rest of my TBR for the month of July. Anyhow, I haven't posted my main TBR for the month. I did my TBR for the Because Dragons readathon, which was the first week of this month at the beginning of the month. There were 2 more readathons this month that I wanted to participate in, but I decided I just couldn't. It wasn't feasible, and those were Tome Topple and the Retellathon, so I'm not doing either of those. Everything that I'm reading for the rest of the month is gonna be Hugo nominee stuff because I am way behind on that, and I'm just going to be putting aside everything else that I was in the middle of until next month. So right now I'm reading 3 things. I've started Akata Warrior by Nnedi Okorafor, which was one of the books that I was trying to get to for the Because Dragons readathon. I started it. I'm only about 50 pages in. This is the sequel to Akata Witch, and it is one of the nominees in the young adult category that isn't technically a Hugo. But I had a lot of these books on my TBR, and I wanted to read as many of them as I could. I will definitely be finishing this month. I'm in the middle of reading 2 other books, one of those other young adult nominees, which is In Other Lands by Rees Brennan, which is sort of an unusual portal fantasy magic school book. It's kind of tackling a lot of these tropes and de-romanticizing them. The main character is pretty abrasive, but that's sort of part of the point. I'm really enjoying this, and it's taken me by surprise because this wasn't a book that was like super high on my radar, and I hadn't heard a whole ton about it. And then the third book I'm reading right now, which I should finish in the next couple days or so, along with In Other Lands, is The Collapsing Empire by Scalzi. I am buddy reading this with Joe from Final Blow Joe. I'll link his channel. This is the first Scalzi book that I've read. I'm not blown away by it, but it's fun enough. The other nominee in the novel category that I want to prioritize reading this month is Raven Stratagem by Yoon. I read Nine Fox Gambit last month in preparation for picking up this, which is the second book in that series, and I had some mixed feelings on Nine Fox Gambit, but I am really looking forward to digging into the sequel. I will, of course, be trying to read a ton of the short fiction that is nominated in the short fiction categories this month. I may or may not end up doing some sort of wrap-up for those stories. I don't often wrap up and review short fiction on this channel. But then in addition to all of that, there's some other stuff, specifically some of the nominees in the series category and in the John W. Campbell Award for Best New Writer that I would like to get to, but I know I'm not going to get to all of them. I'm hopefully going to get to some of them, though. So I have only read anything in one of the series that is nominated this year, and that is the Lady Trent series, The Memoirs of Lady Trent. I've read the first 3 books. I'm not caught up, so I haven't read books 4 and 5. I would love to read the next book in the series. I own this entire series in print, but they are all also part of the Hugo voter packet. And I know I would enjoy this book if I read it, but I'm thinking maybe I should prioritize some of the other series that I haven't read anything in yet to try to get a sense for them. One of the series that's nominated that I've been wanting to get into for years now is The World of the Five Gods by Lois, McMaster, Bujold. I've owned this book, The Curse of Chalion, for a while. This is one of like the books that if I were gonna do like a 5-star predictions or something, I would predict that I'm probably gonna love this book. This, I think, is also in the Hugo voter packet, but I do own a print copy. But the book that makes this series eligible this year is actually not one of the novels, it's one of the Penric and Desdemona novellas, and I believe that sub-series of The World of the Five Gods can be read on its own, and maybe I would be better off trying to get my hands on a copy of the first book in that series and reading it instead, because it's a novella and that will be shorter. And this is going to be a full-length novel, and it's going to be longer, and I might not have time for that. Also in the series category is The Books of the Raksura by Martha Wells, which is another fantasy series that I've been wanting to read for a while. I think the first 2 books are in the voter packet, so The Cloud Roads is the first one, and I want to read this book. I don't know if I'll have time. I think there's also a prequel story in the voter packet, but I don't know if that's a story that, even though it takes place earlier if you could read that on its own. Also nominated in the series category is the Divine Cities trilogy by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is something I've been vaguely curious about for a while but wouldn't have necessarily had the initiative to go and pick up on my own. There's a link in the voter packet for this series to download NetGalley copies. So I've downloaded the first book, City of Stairs, and I've got it on my Kindle. I think from here on out, we're definitely in territory where, like, I'm not gonna get to all of these. I might do, like, try a chapter tag at the end of the month if I have time to read, like, one of them and pick one. But let's see. Also in the series category is the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. I think all 3 books were in the voter packet, and I know I don't have time to read these books this month. It's not happening. I'm so sorry. And then there's the Encrypted series by Seanan McGuire, which is an urban fantasy series that I have no real interest in, but there's some short stories in the voter packet from this series. Maybe I'll read one of the short stories, I don't know. In the John W. Campbell category, there are a couple of books that are possibly on the table for things I might want to pick up. So first, Sarah Kuhn is nominated, and again, there's a link to a NetGalley download for the first book in the Heroine Complex series, which is Heroine Complex. This, I don't think, is going to be like a competitor for me in terms of ranking it with the other books nominated in this category, but it would be fun to read. It looks like fluffy, exciting fun. I do think I would probably enjoy it. Then I've heard very high praise for An Unkindness of Ghosts by Rivers Solomon. There is a PDF of this in the voter packet. This would be a higher priority for me if it were any other format, because with the books that are only PDF, I can't change the font size, and that font reads very, very small on my Kindle, so they will be hard to read. But this is a book that I've heard some really interesting reviews for. It's like a sci-fi about a generation ship where the social structure has come to resemble the historical American South during the time of slavery. The other book that's in the Hugo voter packet as a PDF and therefore hard to read, but I'm vaguely curious about, is one of the YA nominees, and that's The Art of Starving by Sam J. Miller. Last time I mentioned this, I thought I had not heard of this book at all. I think I have heard of this book, but I wasn't aware that it was SFF. I was sort of thinking of it as like a hard-hitting young adult contemporary, so I don't know what the speculative aspect of this book is, but I think it deals with LGBTQ+ issues and also eating disorders. So that's what's on my radar for what I'm trying to read this month for the Hugo Awards. Lesson to me for future years: start earlier. So anyways, if you've got any recommendations for which of these books and series to prioritize over the others, please do let me know. I would love some input. Anyhow, I hope you're having a nice day. That is all. Bye for now.